The approaching renewal option will allow you to find and analyze risks with regards to the renewal process. Clicking the approaching renewal button from the management dashboard will start the process. The program works off the expiry month and year that is coded for every risk. If you press Enter, you will see an error message at the bottom of the screen telling you that you must have a month and a year entered. The other input fields are optional. Care should be taken when selecting the month and year. You should be familiar with the coding used by your company. A yearly policy incepting January 1st could have an expiry date of December 31st or January 1st. Again, it is dependent on the decision made by your company. You can double-click the date field and a selection window will pop up. I'm going to select September of 2009. Once a valid date is entered, you can click the search button at the bottom of the screen and every risk matching the date will be displayed. The up and down keys will allow you to page through the list. Now let's clear and do a search using other input fields. When the list is created, it selects based on the dates, but if you enter data in any of these three input fields, the risk must match the entered data. First, let's use the department field. Double-clicking the field will bring up a window with valid values, and you can double-click on any line. Now let's search. You will notice now that every line in the list has a department code of U1. Let's clear and add an underwriter. You can now see this contains only lines that match the above criteria. Let's clear and use only underwriter. You are now looking at every risk for this underwriter with an expiry date of 09/2009. Let's clear and add an agent. Let's select March UK. Now let's clear again and just look at an underwriter. You will notice the push button at the bottom of the screen labeled Print. When this button is pressed, a simple list of all the risks that are displayed is created. You could use this list to give to your support staff to pull any files you might need. As in any list, you can double-click a line and it will take you to more information. Let's select General Electric. This window will allow you to navigate to different parts of the system. The Renewal Letter button will create a renewal letter if you choose to set one up in the system. The Change Remarks will take you to an input screen. The MRRS allows you to add a few lines of comments for any risk. These comments are part of the MRRS and have nothing to do with Genius. If you enter comments, the risk is flagged and an asterisk will appear when using the risk search clearance option. You might use this comment facility to notify other users to contact you if they are working with this risk. The policy statistics will take you directly into the stats of the risk, but we will arrive there shortly, taking a different route. So let's click the Underwriting Conditions button. You are now looking at the underwriting conditions. Every transaction is displayed and you can click on any line and go to the next screen. This screen displays information about the risk. However, this part of the system is described in other videos. We will go directly into the risk statistics. The screen you are now looking at displays the cumulative inception to date results as they are labeled, like premium, reserves, and ratios. For the different videos, we have chosen General Electric as an example. Now let's talk about the information available. The risk has been in force for 8 years. At the top of the screen, some basic information is displayed. You can see the underwriter, the ceding agent, and what department the risk was coded to. On the right, we can see there are currently 10 open claims and 8 that have been closed over the life of the policy. Let's talk about the push buttons that are scattered throughout the screen. Starting at the bottom, the exit button will return you to the screen that brought you here. The get button refreshes the data that is displayed. You will notice that there is only one input box labeled underwriting year at the top of the screen. If this is left blank, all years are used by this screen. If you double click on the year box, a window is displayed showing all the underwriting years, and you can double click on any line and that year will be returned. You can then click the Get button and you will see that the information will be refreshed for only that year. Let's work with all years. The next 4 buttons labeled Premium, UPR, and OS will display all the individual transactions that have been created. You can notice that the premium amount matches the list of premium transactions. With each transaction list, you can click the Print button and a traditional I-Series report will be produced. All transaction details will reconcile to the numbers displayed on the original screen. Before we look at the claim information, I want to talk a little bit about the cash. Unfortunately, depending on how the checks are processed, there are certain transactions that can't always be related back to the individual risk. So keep this in mind and refer to the accounting department if you feel there might be any cash flow problems. So, the Cash button will display all transactions that could be identified, and by a click on a line, more details about the actual check are displayed. Now let's look at the claims. There are 3 buttons labeled Open Claims, with the current number displayed directly under the button, close claims, again with the current number directly below, and finally the button labeled incurred that will display all claims. So let's click the incurred button. We can page up and down. This screen allows you to surf and become familiar with each individual claim. I will double-click the first line. You can see the claim has been closed and there have been payments in excess of $300,000. You also have access to the remarks entered by the claim examiner. Now let's go back. Now let's look at the development of the risk. You can now see the financial results of each underwriter. Clicking the next button will provide you with expanded amounts of each underwriting year. With the column labeled the bank being the inception to date results. Of course, there are many factors that affect the premium, but surfing through the years can give you a feel if the rates are hardening or softening. Now, let's click the cover button. You are now looking at the coverages, which in this case it is all to one class. Let's go back. Within Genius, the claims examiner has the ability to add description codes to each individual claim. Let's click the claim button. The lines labeled unavailable are telling you that just the high-level codes have been used. Clicking a line will take you to a list of claims that match the code. Let's go back. Clicking the seated button will display the gross ceded and net amounts. You can select an individual year, and see the details of just that year. Let's go back. With any insurance product, it is important to see how a risk develops. Clicking the triangle button will pop up a window. Clicking the HTML button will provide you with the development of each underwriting year. Please keep in mind that this can take a short period of time building the screen. What you are looking at is each underwriting year as it stood at the end of each financial year. We would suggest you go back and select the PDF option and print this report out. There is a video labeled Triangle on this menu that provides a more detailed description of this report. We would suggest watching it several times so that you can become familiar with this report, as we feel it gives the best information on your portfolio within the system. So let's return and see some more options that the MRS provides. Let's click the MRS Info button. You can now end this video and the next one will begin. The MRS provides several functions which will allow you to create data in the MRS database that is in addition to the information that is brought in from Genius. This window provides access to some of these functions. The user has access to this window throughout the MRS. Options like the risk search clearance, the underwriting conditions, and the statistics are to name a few. You can see at the top of the screen the risk that you are working on, and it is controlled by the program that got you here. The previous and next buttons will allow you to set up the underwriting year you want to work with. Now, let's go through the options and we're going to look at the second one first. This option will allow the creation of remarks, but this data will be part of the MRS database and cannot be accessed by Genius. This is a simple screen that you can enter comments. The copy and paste buttons are functional, and you could copy information from other documents and paste them on the screen. The insert and delete buttons are also working. The first option now will display the notes that I've entered. The Print iSeries notes will print out the entered data. The Word document option will create a Microsoft Word document that text can be entered into. This provides the same function as the iSeries remarks, but obviously a true word processing program is more functional. The Create Underwriting Image option will allow you to scan and create PDF files that will be attached to the MRS conditions. However, AXA must decide whether this function should be put into operation. Clicking the button takes you to this screen that will create the images. You enter a number of pages and a brief description and clicks the scan button, and the scanner will start to process the documents. Again, this must be decided by the company how and which scanner would be used. The next option, Display Images, provides access to the image files. I have set up 3 documents labeled 2007, 2008, and 2009 cover sheets. Double-clicking on any line simply click the X in the top right-hand corner to go back to the MRS system. The next option, update short remarks, is another non-Genius or MRRS function. You can set up a few lines of information for each risk to remind the user of something or to notify another user who might be looking at the risk. If short remarks are created, an asterisk will appear on the third screen of the risk search program, and the functionality is described on that video. The option labeled Excel spreadsheet will create a spreadsheet with the inception to date premium and claim amounts summarized by underwriting year and the coding structure. This spreadsheet is created on the C drive of the user in the folder named MRRS CRYS. You can see the codes, the claim amounts, and the premium amounts. The option labeled Diary allows the user to set up a diary record for the risk, which can be accessed by the Diary search button on the Management Dashboard menu. Clicking the Select button will take you to a screen that allows you to enter the date you want to look at the risk. And then you can enter some comments as to the reason why the risk was placed in the diary system. The final option, labeled Additional Names, will allow the user to enter more names and addresses for an individual risk. These names will then become part of the risk search function. We can see we've already selected or created one additional name. Let's create another one. You can see the search keys. Update. And we can see now there's a second name that will be found with the search. Just a note, Genius will only allow one name per risk. You can have many addresses but only one name. This facility should rectify this shortcoming. This concludes this video.